performative speech. So a lot of us here on Wake Forest campus have on-campus jobs. Personally, I am a stitcher in the University Theater's costume shop. This means that I build and construct costumes, and I've been doing that for about 3 years now. This also means that I'm directly involved with any costume design process that goes through the University Theater's costume shop. There are 3 main elements that make up the costume design process. The first is concept development, the second is design sketching, and the third is apparel construction. All of these require close collaboration with the director of the show. Caitlin Murphy, who is the teaching fellow here at Wake Forest for costuming and theater, she has a master's in costume design, and she's costume designed most of the shows this season. I had an interview with her earlier this week, and she says that the first step is meeting with the director and the other designers for a show to develop the concept of the show. One of the most important parts of this process is using the text of the play according to creative skill set to define the setting and the storyline for the show. Most importantly, the character analysis of the characters in the show. A lot of what is said about a character is represented through what they wear. For example, a promiscuous character on the stage can be represented through scantily clad or whatever, sort of kind of more skimpy clothing, as well as tattered clothing can represent a poor economic situation for a character. The director also expresses his vision for the show, whether they want a more realistic design or a more abstract design. After that, they talk about themes and colors of the show, what colors should be represented in the costumes, in the set, and in the lighting. And also, after that, according to Angela Mitchell from About Performing Arts, designers coordinate with one another to make sure that they don't clash with their designs. For instance, you don't want to have a lighting design that washes out all of the colors of a costume. And in the same respect, you don't want a set design that clashes with the colors of costumes. After that, the costume designer brainstorms to combine her vision with the director's vision for what the costume should be. So the second step, according to American Association of Community Theater, is to create design sketches and renderings. This is one of the most lengthy processes. CreativeSkillset.org says that research is absolutely vital in this step of the process, both historical and stylistic. For instance, if you're doing a show that's set in the early 2000s, that's going to be a very different design from something set in the 1940s. Therefore, you need to have that historical research to back up your design. What kind of hats did they wear? What kind of silhouettes did they have during that time period? So these are all very good things to know. And as far as stylistic research, you want to have similar lines to the period and to the piece and the style that you're going for. Another part is choosing a color palette for the costumes, what kind of themes you're going for. For instance, if a play is about murder or something like take William Shakespeare's Macbeth, a lot of designers use the color red to emphasize the murder and death and destruction. Rough sketches are used to kind of give the director an idea of the direction that the costume designer is headed with their designs. It's normally done in pencil or charcoal, and it's just a very rough sketch of what the costume could be. If these are approved by the director, the costume designer creates a final rendering, which is done in full color and can be used in digital art, ink, watercolor, markers, acrylic paints, and pastels. Caitlin Murphy, who is the woman that I interviewed, says that she uses different mediums to match the tone of her play. After the final renderings are approved by the director, the costume designer begins working to translate the designs from paper into reality. This is where I, as a stitcher, come in for construction. Judith Bowden from Arts Alive says that creating physical costumes is one of the most daunting tasks of creating costumes. Collaboration with the costume draper, who is also someone who works in the costume shop, and the costume draper is someone who creates the patterns for the costumes and basically decides how to build the costumes. The costume designer and the costume draper collaborate on what kind of fabrics they need to buy. The costume designer buys the fabrics, which need to be durable, appropriate, and wearable by the actors. Skillset Craft and Technical Skills Academy says that it is the stitcher's job to actually build the costume. I am a stitcher. Therefore, I get the pattern and I basically construct the fabric to make a costume. Then the actors come in, try it on, we see what needs to be taken in, what needs to be altered, I work on the alterations, and after the alterations are completed, the show begins and the costume design process is complete. Costume design in the theater is a creative process involving concept development, design sketching, as well as apparel construction. Working in the costume shop as a stitcher, I'm fortunate enough to be a vital part of this costume design process, and in this way I'm an essential part of creating art and theater. Thank you.